Something strange happened 3 hours ago. Not something loud. Not something dramatic that everyone noticed immediately. But something quiet. A message that appeared in front of a few people at exactly the moment they needed to hear it. According to the story spreading across different communities, the message carried a warning connected to Archangel Michael. And the warning sounded unusual. It said, "I have been waiting, because something important in your life is about to be decided." Most people ignored the message at first. Because the words sounded mysterious. Almost unbelievable. But the deeper meaning behind them started becoming clear later. The moment everything felt unstable. Many people who heard the message described the same feeling. A strange sense that something in their life was shifting. Not necessarily a financial collapse. Not necessarily a miracle. But a moment where their direction suddenly felt uncertain. Some described it as standing at a crossroads. A place where the next decision could shape the future. That is why the message used dramatic language about assets being liquidated. Not necessarily literal assets. But the things people value most. Their time. Their potential. Their opportunities. Why the message mentioned liquidation? The story explained that liquidation symbolized something deeper. When people stop paying attention to their direction, something slowly disappears. Not money. But potential. Dreams get postponed. Plans remain unfinished. Opportunities pass quietly. Over time, the life someone imagined begins fading away. In that sense, ignoring your direction can feel like watching your future slowly dissolve. Archangel Michael's symbolic warning. In many traditions, Archangel Michael represents protection and awakening. Not comfort. Not easy promises. But a moment when someone realizes they must wake up and take responsibility for their direction. Messages connected to Michael often sound intense. Because they are meant to interrupt routine. To make someone stop and think. The message in this story carried that same purpose. The 10 seconds idea. When the message mentioned 10 seconds, many people misunderstood it. They thought it was a literal countdown. But later reflections revealed a different meaning. The 10 seconds symbolized a moment of decision. The moment when someone chooses between continuing the same habits. Or finally changing direction. Those moments appear suddenly in life. And they disappear quickly if ignored. The massive shift. The story described a massive shift. But the shift was not something happening somewhere else in the world. It was something happening inside the person hearing the message. A shift in perspective. A shift in awareness. A shift in responsibility. When someone realizes they still have the power to change their direction, everything begins looking different. A reflection for the viewer. Ask yourself something honestly. If your life continued exactly the same way for the next 5 years, would you be satisfied with the direction it's going? If the answer feels uncomfortable, that discomfort might be important. Because discomfort often reveals the areas where change is needed. A note while watching. If you notice a QR code on the screen, or a link in the description or pinned comment, those are simply optional ways creators sometimes allow viewers to support their content or explore related resources if they wish. They are never required. The real purpose of the message is reflection. Encouraging viewers to pause and think about the direction they want their life to move toward. Something even stranger happens next. But the story didn't end with the warning. Because after people began reflecting on their lives, Something surprising started happening. Many began noticing opportunities they had ignored before. Ideas they had never considered. Paths they had never explored. And that is why the message continued spreading. Because some people believed it marked the moment their direction began changing. Part 2. The message that refused to disappear. After the first warning spread, something unusual began happening. People expected the message to fade away like most things on the internet. But it didn't. Instead, it kept appearing again and again in conversations, comments, and private messages. Some viewers said they ignored it the first time. Others said they almost closed the video. But something about the word stayed in their mind. Not the dramatic language. Not the mysterious tone. But the deeper idea hidden inside it. The idea that maybe, just maybe, they had been overlooking something important about their own life. A strange pattern people started noticing. Within hours, people began sharing similar experiences. One person said they suddenly realized they had been postponing a decision for months. Another said they had ignored opportunities because they were afraid to take a risk. Someone else admitted that they had been waiting for a perfect moment that never arrived. That is when the phrase from the message started making sense. A massive shift is here. Not outside. Inside. A shift in the way people looked at their situation. Why the message mentioned Archangel Michael. In spiritual symbolism, Archangel Michael is often connected with awakening moments. Moments when someone finally stands up and says, "Enough. I'm not staying stuck anymore." Michael is not usually associated with comfort. He represents courage. The courage to confront things we often avoid. And the message seemed to carry that exact energy. The door that locks. The warning in the message talked about a door that could lock forever. At first, that sounded dramatic. But later, people began understanding what it really meant. Life offers windows of opportunity. Moments where a decision can change direction. But those windows don't stay open forever. Sometimes the door closes quietly. Not because something magical happened, but because time moved forward and the opportunity passed. That is what the message was really warning about. Why some people felt the message was personal. Many viewers commented something surprising. They said the message felt like it was speaking directly to them. Not because it predicted something specific, but because the idea behind it was universal. Everyone has moments where they know they should take action. Start learning. Start building. Start improving something in their life. But hesitation keeps them waiting. The message interrupted that hesitation. The moment people began taking action. The most interesting part of the story came next. Some viewers said that after watching the message, they did something simple. They made one small change. They wrote down a plan. They researched a new skill. They organized their finances. They started something they had delayed for years. And those small steps created something powerful. Momentum. A quiet reminder while watching. Sometimes creators place a QR code on the screen. Or a link in the description or pinned comment. These are simply optional ways for viewers to support the creator or explore related resources if they want. There is never any obligation. The real value of the message is the reflection it creates. Because the moment someone pauses and thinks about their direction, that moment alone can change everything. The story was about to get even stranger. just when people thought the message had revealed its full meaning. Another part of the story began circulating. Something about a hidden reason why so many people feel stuck financially. A reason that had nothing to do with luck. And everything to do with awareness. That next revelation would change the way many viewers looked at their own situation. But it appeared only in the next part of the message. Part 3. The moment Michael said, "Don't ignore this." Something unexpected happened after the second message spread. People didn't just watch the story. They started reflecting on their own lives. Some viewers went back and rewatched the earlier parts. Not because of the mysterious tone, but because something inside the message felt strangely familiar. It felt like someone describing a moment many people experience, but rarely talk about. The moment when you realize you've been moving through life on autopilot. Working hard. Doing what everyone expects. But quietly feeling like something important is missing. And that was the moment the message began to make sense. The part people almost missed. Hidden inside the warning was a line that many viewers overlooked at first. The message didn't say a miracle was guaranteed. It didn't promise sudden wealth. Instead, it pointed to something far more powerful. A shift in awareness. Because when someone finally becomes aware of their direction, everything changes. They stop waiting for luck. They stop blaming circumstances. And they begin building their future intentionally. That is the real turning point. Why the message sounded urgent. Some viewers asked why the message sounded so dramatic. Why mention seconds, doors closing, or opportunities disappearing? Because sometimes urgency is what breaks hesitation. People often wait for the perfect time to change their life. But the perfect time rarely arrives. Action creates the perfect time. And the message was trying to remind viewers of that simple truth. The symbolism behind Archangel Michael. Throughout history, Archangel Michael has been associated with moments of awakening. Moments when someone stops avoiding reality and finally steps forward. Michael is often described as carrying a sword. But that sword symbolizes something deeper. Clarity. The ability to cut through confusion and see the truth clearly. And that is exactly what the message was doing. Cutting through distractions. Helping people see their situation honestly. What the massive shift really meant. The shift mentioned earlier was not about money appearing overnight. It was about perspective. When perspective changes, behavior changes. And when behavior changes, results eventually follow. Someone who begins learning every day becomes skilled. Someone who manages their finances carefully becomes stable. Someone who takes consistent action builds momentum. Those changes may look small in the beginning. But over time they reshape an entire life. The turning point many viewers experienced. After hearing the message, some viewers shared stories in the comments. One person said they finally started the business idea they had postponed for years. Another said they stopped wasting hours on distractions and began studying a new skill. Someone else wrote that they realized they were capable of far more than they believed. Those comments revealed something powerful. The message was never about fear. It was about awakening. A small note while watching. If you notice a QR code on the screen, or a link in the description or pinned comment, those are simply optional ways viewers sometimes support creators or explore additional resources. They are never required. The true value of the message lies in the reflection it creates. Because the moment someone pauses and rethinks their direction, their future can begin shifting. Something even more surprising was coming. But the story wasn't finished yet. Because after the reflection, after the awareness, another realization began spreading among viewers. A realization about why so many people delay their own progress. And when that truth appeared in the next part of the message, it made everything clearer. If you stayed until this moment, comment this word. Awaken. Because awareness is the first step toward building the future you want. And if you want the story to continue, simply say. Part 4. Part 4. The hidden reason most people stay stuck. After the previous message spread, something unexpected happened. The conversation shifted. People were no longer talking about mysterious warnings or dramatic phrases. Instead, they started talking about something far more uncomfortable. The truth about why so many people feel stuck in life. Because when viewers began reflecting on the message, they started noticing a pattern. A pattern that quietly affects millions of people. And once you see this pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. The invisible trap. Most people believe their situation is controlled by external things. Money. Luck. Opportunities. Connections. But the deeper truth is often something much simpler. Attention. Where a person directs their attention every day determines the direction of their life. Someone who spends hours improving their skills eventually becomes valuable. Someone who spends hours distracted by noise slowly loses momentum. Over months and years, those small daily choices begin shaping an entire future. Why the message sounded urgent. Some viewers asked a question. Why did the message sound like something urgent was about to happen? The answer is surprisingly simple. Because awareness doesn't last forever. A person can have a moment of clarity today and ignore it tomorrow. That is why messages that encourage reflection often sound urgent. They remind people to act while the awareness is still fresh. Before routine pulls them back into the same habits again. The real meaning of the door. Earlier parts of the story mentioned a door that could close. That door was never a literal door. It represented opportunity. Opportunities don't disappear because of magic. They disappear because time moves forward. Someone who waits too long may eventually find that the moment they needed has passed. And the hardest realization is this. Many people recognize opportunities only after they have already closed. What Archangel Michael symbolizes. In spiritual traditions, Archangel Michael often represents strength and awakening. The moment when someone finally decides to face reality honestly. Michael's message is not usually gentle. It is direct. Because awakening rarely happens through comfort. It happens through clarity. And clarity can feel intense. But it also gives people the power to move forward. The small decision that changes everything. The message spreading across viewers contained a simple idea. Your future is not decided by one giant event. It is shaped by thousands of small decisions. What you choose to learn today. How you spend your time today. What habits you build today. Those small actions quietly build the life you experience later. And once someone understands that, their perspective changes forever. A quiet reminder while watching. Sometimes creators place a QR code on the screen. Or a link in the description or pinned comment. These are simply optional ways viewers can support the content or explore related material if they want. They are never required. The real purpose of the message is reflection. helping viewers pause and ask themselves an honest question. Am I moving in the direction I truly want? The story was about to reveal something deeper. Just when people thought they understood the message completely, another idea began appearing in the discussion. An idea that explained why some people suddenly experience breakthroughs after long periods of struggle. It wasn't luck. And it wasn't coincidence. It was something much more powerful. But that explanation appeared in the next part of the message. If you reached this moment, comment this word. Shift. Because every major change in life begins with a shift in perspective. And if you want the story to continue, simply write. Part 5. Part 5. The moment everything became clear. Something unusual began happening after the previous message spread. People were not just watching anymore. They were thinking. Really thinking. And for many viewers, that was the first time in a long while they had paused to examine their direction honestly. The message had done something unexpected. It had interrupted routine. For years, many people had been moving through life on autopilot. Wake up. Work. Scroll. Sleep. Repeat. But when a message interrupts that cycle, even for a moment, something powerful happens. Awareness appears. And awareness changes everything. The real turning point. Some viewers believed the message was about wealth. Others thought it was about luck. But the deeper meaning slowly became clear. The turning point wasn't external. It was internal. Because when someone becomes aware of their habits, they gain the ability to change them. That single moment of realization can quietly reshape the future. Why so many people miss their opportunity? One of the most discussed ideas in the comments was surprisingly simple. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they wait too long to start. They wait for confidence. They wait for perfect timing. They wait for someone else to give them permission. But the people who eventually change their lives usually begin long before they feel ready. They take the first step while uncertainty still exists. And that step begins building momentum. The power of momentum. Momentum is something many people underestimate. In the beginning, progress feels slow. Sometimes it feels invisible. But small actions repeated consistently create powerful results over time. A person who reads a little every day becomes knowledgeable. A person who practices every day becomes skilled. A person who builds discipline every day becomes unstoppable. None of these changes happen overnight. But they accumulate quietly. Just like interest growing in an account. Why Archangel Michael appears in stories like this. Across many traditions, Archangel Michael represents courage. The courage to stand up. The courage to face reality. And the courage to move forward even when the path is uncertain. That symbolism is why messages connected to Michael often feel intense. Because they are meant to wake people up. Not frighten them. But remind them that they still have the power to shape their future. A moment of reflection. If you stopped everything right now and asked yourself a simple question. Where will my current habits lead me in 5 years? What answer would appear? That question is uncomfortable. But it is also powerful. Because the moment someone asks it honestly, they gain the ability to change direction. A note while watching. You may occasionally see a QR code on the screen. Or a link in the description or pinned comment. These are simply optional ways viewers sometimes support creators or explore related resources. They are never required. The real purpose of this message is awareness. Helping viewers pause, reflect, and think about the direction they want their life to move toward. The next revelation. But the story wasn't finished. Because after awareness comes something even more important. Decision. And the next part of the message explains something surprising about how a single decision can reshape someone's future. A realization that many viewers said completely changed the way they looked at their life. That moment appears in the next chapter. If you stayed until this part, comment this word. Focus. Because the future belongs to the people who focus on building it. And if you want the story to continue, simply say. Part 6. Part 6. The decision most people avoid. After the last message spread across viewers, something interesting began happening in the comment sections. People started asking a deeper question. Not about wealth. Not about miracles. But about something far more important. Why do so many people wait until life forces them to change? Because the truth is simple, but uncomfortable. Most people already know what they should do. They just postpone doing it. The quiet battle inside every person. Inside every person there is a small voice. Sometimes it appears early in the morning. Sometimes late at night. It asks questions like, is this really the direction I want? Am I using my time wisely? Could my life look different if I made better choices? But most people silence that voice. They distract themselves. They scroll. They postpone reflection. And slowly the voice becomes quieter. Until one day they realize years have passed. Why awareness is so powerful. The message spreading in the story reminded people of something powerful. Awareness creates choice. When someone becomes aware of their habits, they can improve them. When someone becomes aware of their distractions, they can remove them. And when someone becomes aware of their potential, they begin building it. Without awareness, people move through life reacting to circumstances. With awareness, they begin shaping their future intentionally. The meaning behind the massive shift. Earlier parts of the story mentioned a massive shift. Many viewers expected something dramatic. But the shift turned out to be something quieter. A shift in thinking. When someone begins asking better questions, their behavior slowly changes. And when behavior changes consistently, results eventually follow. This is how real transformation begins. Not with one big moment, but with small decisions repeated over time. The courage to move forward. That is why messages connected to Archangel Michael often focus on courage. Courage is not about being fearless. It is about taking action even when uncertainty exists. Someone who waits for perfect certainty may never begin. But someone who acts despite uncertainty starts building momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. A simple question for the viewer. Pause for a moment and consider something honestly. If your current habits remained exactly the same for the next 5 years, where would they lead? Would they move you closer to the life you want? Or further away from it? This question may feel uncomfortable. But discomfort often reveals the truth we need to see. A small note while watching. Sometimes creators include a QR code on the screen. Or a link in the description or pinned comment. These are optional ways viewers can support content or explore additional material if they choose. They are never required. The real purpose of the message is reflection. helping viewers pause and think about the direction they want their life to move toward. Something even more important was coming. But the story was about to reveal something many people overlook. A powerful idea about why some individuals suddenly experience breakthroughs after years of struggle. It wasn't luck. And it wasn't coincidence. It was something that appears only after someone commits to consistent action. That realization appears in the next chapter. If you stayed until this moment, comment this word. Decision. Because every new direction in life begins with a single decision. And if you want the story to continue, simply say. Part 7. Part 7. The breakthrough most people never reach. After the previous message spread, the discussion began changing again. People were no longer debating whether the message was mysterious or dramatic. Instead, they began sharing something personal. Their own experiences. Stories about moments in life when everything seemed stuck. Moments when it felt like no matter how hard they tried, nothing changed. And that is when another idea quietly appeared inside the story. A realization many people had never considered before. The phase that comes before every breakthrough. Every person who eventually changes their life passes through a stage that feels frustrating. A stage where effort seems invisible. You work. You learn. You try. But results appear slowly. Sometimes so slowly that it feels like nothing is happening at all. This stage is where most people give up. Not because they are incapable, but because progress isn't immediately visible. Yet this invisible stage is exactly where transformation begins. The invisible growth. Think about a seed placed in the ground. For days or weeks nothing appears above the soil. Someone looking at the surface might believe nothing is happening. But beneath the ground, roots are growing. Strength is developing. Structure is forming. Only after that invisible process finishes does the plant finally appear above the surface. Life works the same way. Many breakthroughs are prepared long before they become visible. Why some people quit too early. One of the most common patterns viewers discussed was quitting too soon. Someone starts learning a skill. They practice for a few weeks. They see little progress. And they assume it is not working. But what they don't realize is that progress was already happening beneath the surface. Skills were developing. Understanding was improving. Confidence was forming. They just stopped before the results became visible. The role of persistence. This is why persistence appears again and again in stories about successful people. Persistence is not glamorous. It often looks boring from the outside. But persistence multiplies progress. Small efforts repeated daily become powerful over time. A person who studies 1 hour a day for a year gains knowledge most people never develop. A person who improves one small habit each week eventually transforms their entire lifestyle. The change may seem slow in the beginning. But once momentum builds, the results accelerate. Why messages about Michael often sound urgent? Messages connected to Archangel Michael often emphasize urgency. Not because something magical is about to happen, but because time is one of the most valuable resources people have. Every day contains opportunities to learn, build, and improve. But those opportunities disappear if they are ignored for too long. Urgency reminds people not to postpone action forever. The quiet moment when everything changes. Sometimes transformation does not arrive as a dramatic event. Sometimes it arrives quietly. A moment when someone finally decides. I'm going to take my future seriously. That moment may appear simple, but it is powerful. Because once someone commits to consistent action, the direction of their life begins changing. A reminder while watching. Sometimes viewers notice a QR code on the screen, or a link placed in the description or pinned comment. These are optional ways creators may offer resources or allow viewers to support the channel. They are never required. The real purpose of the message is reflection. Encouraging viewers to pause, think about their direction, and take meaningful steps toward their goals. The story was not finished yet. Just when people believed the message had revealed its deepest meaning, another question began appearing among viewers. A question about why some people suddenly experience dramatic turning points after long periods of preparation. A moment when years of quiet effort finally begin producing visible results. That moment was described in the next chapter. And it changed the way many viewers looked at persistence forever. If you stayed until this moment, comment this word. Persist. Because persistence is often the invisible force behind every real breakthrough. And if you want the story to continue, simply say. Part 8. Part 8, Final Chapter. The moment everything finally made sense. By the time the message reached this point, something remarkable had already happened. People were no longer watching it like a mysterious story. They were reflecting on their own lives. Some viewers went back and watched the earlier parts again. Not because of the suspense, but because the message had quietly planted a question in their mind. A question that becomes impossible to ignore once you hear it. What direction is my life truly moving in? The real turning point. For many viewers, the turning point wasn't a miracle. It wasn't money suddenly appearing. It wasn't luck. The turning point was clarity. Because clarity changes behavior. When someone sees their life clearly, they begin making different choices. They become more intentional with their time. They become more focused on what truly matters. And slowly, their direction begins changing. Why so many people feel stuck? During the discussion that followed the message, many people realized something important. Feeling stuck is rarely permanent. It is usually the result of repeated habits. Habits that quietly shape daily life. Small distractions. Small delays. Small decisions that seem harmless in the moment. But over time, those small habits accumulate. And they determine the direction someone moves. The moment a person changes those habits, everything begins shifting. The power of one decision. Every major transformation begins with one decision. Not a dramatic announcement. Not a perfect plan. Just a decision to start moving forward. A decision to learn something new. A decision to improve discipline. A decision to stop waiting for the right time. Once that decision is made, momentum begins building. And momentum carries people much further than motivation ever could. Why stories like this resonate? Stories connected to Archangel Michael often focus on awakening moments. Moments when someone stops drifting and starts acting with purpose. Michael represents strength. The strength to face reality honestly. And the courage to move forward even when the future feels uncertain. That is why these messages resonate with so many viewers. They remind people that they still have the power to shape their own direction. The quiet truth. The truth is simple, but powerful. Your future is not decided by a single event. It is built through daily choices. Where you place your attention. How you use your time. What habits you repeat. Those small actions slowly construct the life you experience. And once someone understands this, they gain something extremely valuable. Control over their direction. A final reflection. Before closing this message, consider something honestly. If you continued your current habits for the next 5 years, where would they lead? Would they bring you closer to the life you want? Or further away from it? This question may feel uncomfortable. But sometimes the most powerful questions are the ones that challenge us. Because the moment we answer them honestly, we gain the power to change our path. A small note. During videos like this, you might sometimes see a QR code on the screen, or a link in the description or pinned comment. These are simply optional ways viewers can support the creator or explore related content if they wish. They are never required. The real purpose of this message has always been reflection. Helping viewers pause and think about the direction they want their life to move toward. The final realization. At the beginning, the message sounded dramatic. It sounded urgent. But in the end, the meaning became clear. It was never about fear. It was about awareness. Because the moment someone becomes aware of their direction, their future begins changing. Quietly. But powerfully. If you stayed until this final moment, comment this word. Forward. Because the people who keep moving forward are the ones who eventually build the future they once imagined.